Hello and welcome to Don't Feed the Geeks, presented by the Long Island Comic Guys, the masters of the geeky verse. Welcome back, geek freaks. I am TC, joined today by JJ.
What up? That's what I'm going with today. That's what I'm going with.
And Toy Story.
There's a snake in my boots.
Come on, but a little more heart than that.
All right, I'll next time.
All right, we have an awesome episode for you guys today. We interview comic extraordinaire artist John Broglia. We talk about a lot of fun stuff, some new work he's got coming out very soon. We also have a cool movie review. We have a new 80s movie review segment coming at the end of the episode after the interview. We're going to be reviewing the 1982 movie, The Thing. So definitely stay tuned for that.
There's going to be a little bit of a contention there, I think.
Oh, yeah, it's definitely going to be contentious. I think, JJ, when we get to that, I want you to start off.
100%.
No, it's fine. Let Matt start off because he's the one that brought this thing to us, so he'll start it off.
I'm pretty sure you recommended the movie.
You started off.
I think you did too.
All right, whatever. Moving on.
All right. Well, before we get to that, though, let's jump into the geek beat and we'll turn it over to Toy Story. What do you got for us, Toy Story?
All right, we got a couple cool things in the Star Wars world this week. So Disney Plus recently announced that The Mandalorian is going to be getting a new behind-the-scenes show starting May the 4th. It's called Disney Gallery, The Mandalorian. So I guess they're going to be doing a couple Disney Gallery shows. But it's going to be basically detail all the cool behind-the-scenes stuff that went into the making of the show. So that's supposed to be 8 episodes, premiering on May 4th, Star Wars Day. I'm really excited to see that.
It's 8 episodes, really?
Yeah, I think one for each episode, probably.
Wow. And are they half hour or hour?
I'm not sure about that.
Oh, all right. That's cool.
Sorry, I missed part of it. Did you say they were going to be available weekly or all at once?
I'm pretty sure weekly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see that because the filming of that show was really cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
I don't know if you guys know this, but they didn't use any sort of green screens. They used like giant LCD screens where they projected like the landscapes behind them.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So,
wow.
Yeah. So no green screen whatsoever.
Cool. Okay.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Also with Mandalorian, they announced that season 3 is already in the works, and we don't even have season 2. So Jon Favreau is writing scripts as we speak, and the art department for Lucasfilm is drawing up concept art. And yeah, so we got a lot of good Mandalorian stuff coming.
Do we know do we think or know that if they're going to move that up a little bit to release it? I mean,
I'm not sure. I know season 2's done filming, so they're probably doing post-production from home right now. So I think that might stay on track for this fall. So if they're able to get back to filming by the fall, then maybe it'll be next year too. I mean, we got to see.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
So what else is there?
You distracted me. All right, what else? So also DC announced that they're going to be releasing a small amount of new books on Wednesday, April 28th, which will be 2 days from now when you're hearing this.
What are your guys' thoughts on that? Because I've been thinking about it a little bit. I don't know if it's like a good thing or a bad thing. I mean, I guess it's a good thing for people looking to read, but is it really good for the shops?
I don't think it's necessary.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of like putting the shops in a weird position because they don't know if customers are going to come and buy these, you know?
And the big thing is a lot of them are reprints.
Yeah, they are.
They're like
I think there's like two new books this week, which I personally have never heard of, Daphne Byrne and The Dreaming.
I think the biggest one that I heard is getting like a new release book is, I think this is not until like May also, but it's like the next Harley Quinn. Like Harley Quinn's going to get a new book in part of the series, and that's the only one that I saw that I really like knew off the top of my head.
Yeah, I think it's
like
going to be the
Batman
first
Giant and stuff like that, but
I think that Harley Quinn's going to be like the first or second week of May.
Yeah.
Did they drop a digital only this week? I thought they did.
I'm not sure.
I thought it was. I thought I saw something that they dropped a Superman digital only book this week. I could be wrong. I'm actually looking it up right now.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, I don't know. I feel like if I were them, I would.
Yep. Yeah.
I don't know what the right thing to do is.
Yeah, it's here. It is. It's called Superman Man of Tomorrow. It's going to be a weekly Superman book, digital. So I imagine what they're doing with the with those what were those books that they did? Injustice, where they released them weekly, and then they did a monthly book with all 4 of them together.
Well, aren't they doing the Batman Adventures that way as well?
It looks like there's
the new Adventures of Batman.
Well, there's a few of them. There's a Batman Gotham Knights, there's Aquaman Deep Dives, and Wonder Woman Agent of Peace. So it looks like there's 4 of them that they've got listed here. DC Digital First is what they're calling it.
Because I remember they said they were going to do that with Batman the Animated Series, weren't they? Batman Adventures it was called, right?
You're right. Yep. It is. Yep. Yeah. Issue 2 came out, so yeah, they've got 2 issues of that already out. The Wonder Woman dropped this week. So that's what it was. Wonder Woman dropped this week, and the Superman dropped today. It's interesting. Okay.
Well, I mean, I guess it gives people a little bit of new stuff. I'll be honest with you. I mean, as much as it stinks, it does give me a little bit more time to catch up.
Yeah.
On like all my backlog of stuff.
You were super behind. Right?
I mean, if you look at that behind me, that's stuff I haven't gone through. What I'm showing JJ and Toy Story is a stack of books from probably. I can't even tell you when. Probably last year.
And I'm behind my digital books that I bought weeks ago. I haven't even gone through them a lot.
And I'm still just reading old stuff. You guys should read that Flash run I'm reading. It's really good.
We'll talk about that.
Yeah. When he's done with the graphic novel, give it to me. Are you reading it digitally or in the book?
On a DC.
So just send me your iPad.
Okay. It's DC. Do you have DC? The DC thing, don't you?
No, he let it.
You renewed?
I did renew, but I renewed monthly, so it's only $8 a month.
Okay.
Yeah.
I let it bypass. So.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
There was too much DC stuff I wanted to read. I was like, all right, I'll just do it. All right. So last up, we got a bunch of release date changes, a couple which just came out like a couple hours ago. So the first one is Venom: Let There Be Carnage has been moved from October 2nd, 2019. I'm sorry, that should say 2020 to June 25th, 2021. So it was moved about 8 months up.
I still haven't finished the first one.
Neither have I. I haven't started it.
I started watching it, and I think like my wife yelled at me at one point, and like I had to turn the TV off, and I just never went back. I didn't hate it. I mean, I really like Tom Hardy, so I mean, like I feel like I may think it's okay.
It made a lot of money.
Did it really?
It made like almost $1 billion. I'm pretty sure, if not that much.
Wow. Really?
I mean,
pretty sure. I'm fact checking myself.
And I feel like the most positive reviews I heard of it was it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. Mm-hmm. And that was like the positive ones.
Yeah, it made $850 million.
Oh, wow. I remember Jeff saying that he goes, it's a really great 90s movie. I was like, okay.
Interesting.
But I don't know. I'll eventually watch it. I mean, and they got Carnage's Woody Harrelson. Like, that's got to be awesome. Yeah. Like, if they can, at some point, bring all those people into the MCU, I might be okay with it.
I don't like that it's not connected.
And if they don't, I wouldn't mind Tom Hardy as Wolverine. Is that all we got for the Geek Beat?
No, so a couple more release date changes.
Right.
So first we have Spider-Man, whatever 3 is going to be. July 16th, 2021 is now November 5th, 2021. We have Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, which November 5th, 2021 is now March 25th, 2022. So essentially moved up.
That's the one I'm really excited to see.
Sam Raimi.
I have a good feeling about that one.
Did we talk about that yet? That Sam Raimi's going to be doing it?
No, you definitely talk about it now.
Yeah, so he confirmed that he's going to be directing it. And so you guys know what that means. We're going to see Mr. Maguire back, I think, in one of the multiverses.
Well, they've been pushing that hard that you might see the other 2 Spider-Mans show up, right?
I think that's going to happen. That would be. He's going to want to do that.
Sam Raimi is?
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised at this point. I mean, it's almost like they just let the internet do this stuff for them, and they're like, let's see what people put out there, and then we'll do it. I mean, how long do you think before they actually officially say that John Krasinski and Emily Blunt are Mr. and Mrs. Fantastic? I mean, they're like, seems like if people want that, like,
they wait until.
Let's give Krasinski a call.
Look what happened with Rosario Dawson and Ahsoka.
That's
been a thing that people have been saying for years that they want.
Oh, really? Yeah. So, I mean, listen, Disney's like, let's give the people what they want.
Well, that's all they got to do is listen to the people, and that's where they're going to make their money. I mean, because we know better than they do. I would think so.
And you're right. And the people who don't care, they're going to go see it regardless.
Right.
Or they're not.
And the last one that was announced is TC's favorite movie, Into the Spider-Verse 2, from April 8th, 2022 to October 7th, 2022.
Oh, I didn't know they were doing another one.
So everything's moved about 6 months, essentially.
Yeah, they made a buttload of money. They made a buttload of money on the first one. You don't think they're going to do a second one? I mean, makes sense.
They also won an Oscar, right?
Yeah.
Did, yeah. Best animated.
Wow.
I think another movie beat out Disney.
I think they're going to run with that. I think we're going to see a third one. I guarantee it.
Especially if this one does well too.
Yeah.
Matt, the movie I'm most concerned about, you didn't include in this.
New release date. It's going to be April 16th, 2036. I bought tickets for us already. We'll be there
for the New Mutants.
Yes, sir.
2036.
I'm not sure if I'm comfortable yet going to the movie theater by then.
You have no idea how upset I am, only because it actually would have come out if not for this.
You know what's funny? The movie theater by me actually has like the poster of it like coming out like April whatever, like outside.
It's like they knew this was a thing between us, and they're just like, you know what?
That's great.
They listen to the people. See?
Oh man, that's
Maisie Williams is going to be like 7 years older than she was in that movie by the time it comes out.
That's funny.
They're not making it 2 anyway, so it's fine.
Yeah. All right, that's all I got.
So before we jump into.
Lastly, the word was that Disney's not going to open up until 2021. Thoughts on that? Disney parks. How much does that suck?
Well, I guess that means we're not going to Disney World in December there, Toy Story.
You're not going this
year. My cousin's getting married there next year. I don't know what the deal is going to be with that.
I don't see that happening either.
Well,
it's going to suck. I want to go to the Disney.
No large events are going to happen for a while.
Nope. All right, go ahead. TC.
So I listened to this Part of My Take podcast on Barstool, and they were talking about this documentary the other day. It's called King of Kong: Fistful of Quarters. I don't think you watched the Toy Story, but I remember you saying that you've seen it, JJ.
Yes, I've seen
it. It was hilarious. Like what they were talking about, it's like I have to check this thing out. It is like I posted a quick review on it on our Instagram account, but what a weird thing. It was like, and what I said in my review was it's 50% pathetic, 50% hilarious. I mean, 100% entertaining. It's like it's the world that I thought existed inside a comic book store before I actually went into a comic book store. I mean, like
that's an interesting way to describe it.
Geeks and nerds, like the people from Revenge of the Nerds seemed like the coolest people in the world compared to most of the people in this documentary.
So it was real?
Oh yeah.
Like real people?
It's based on real people. So like some guy named Billy Mitchell has this King Kong record for years, like 30 years he had it or something like that. And then this pretty normal guy, the only kind of really normal guy in the whole documentary is this guy, Steve Wiebe, who's trying to beat the record. And I mean, the guy gets pretty like sad about it, but like, so he's trying to beat the record. He beats it. He buys an at-home thing. He beats it. Spoiler alert for anyone who hasn't watched it yet. And he submits it to this thing called Twin Galaxies. Never heard of this in my life. Apparently they're the official score and record keeper for video games, especially classic video games.
Yep.
Yeah. And they, like, the Guinness World Book of Records comes to them to be official about these records. So he submits a video of him beating the whole game. He beats the record. He sends it into them. They send 2 like geek goons to this guy's house and say, no, your thing isn't, your score isn't valid. Your machine doesn't check out. It's like, you could have done something to your motherboard. You have to do it in public. And it's just like, it's so weird. And the guy who has the record is like on the board of this Twin Galaxies thing. So he has his like hands in it, and the guy who's like the head of it just like goes by whatever he said. People like this like old geek loser who has like really long hair and a beard, and he owns like some crappy restaurant now. The whole world idolizes him. Now, mind you, this came out in 2007, and I think it was recorded even like probably early 2000s. These are like people still living like in their parents' basements at 45 years old. I mean, is
it worth watching?
100%.
Okay.
You have to watch it. Like right. I watched it. I was like, oh my God. Like it was like,
is it on YouTube?
Stuff. Yeah, it's free. You can watch it for free on YouTube. I highly recommend watching. It was just such a weird thing. And they don't tell you at the end. So after a while, like it ends with you thinking he doesn't beat the record. And then at the end, it like just says like, oh, by the way, a year later, he beat the world record. And then we were talking about this a couple of weeks ago. JJ's like, the other guy was turned out to be a complete fraud who cheated.
Billy Mitchell cheated.
The guy Billy Mitchell who had the record.
And had all his records. He had all his records taken away because of he was cheating. He was cheating the whole thing. The whole thing was farce.
And the worst part is, so this guy Walter Day, who's like the Gandalf of like the Twin Galaxies thing, he tells this guy Steve Wiebe, he's like, you have to come in person and beat this record. That's the best way to do it. And he gets really close. He's like, he does whatever it's called a kill screen. Have you ever heard of this, Matt?
Kill screen.
No.
Yep.
It's a kill screen is when you get to the end of the game and like you can't go any further. It just the game just dies.
It pixelates and then it basically shuts down. All the games have them. Like Pac-Man has it, Donkey Kong has it. They all have them.
So it was Donkey Kong that he was doing this on. So he does it, and this is the first time it's ever done in like a public arcade. No one's ever done it in a public arcade before. So he does that. So and then he beats the record on top of that in public at the thing. And then they're like, so the same day he beats the record, this like creep Billy Mitchell sends a videotape of him beating it. And the guy's like one of the guys who's reviewing is like, I don't know. It looks like it could have been a little doctored. And meanwhile, the guy who's head of the Twin Galaxies is like, no, yeah, it's totally good. We're gonna keep it as the new record on top of this guy's record. I was like, what is this? This is so corrupt. But that's my weird rant. But 100% totally watch it. I mean, I know it's not an official review, but it's a separate review.
Yeah, it's called.
It's not that long either. I think it's like only an hour.
It's called The King of Kong.
Yeah, A Fistful of Quarters.
All right, cool. I'll check that out. Yeah, I've been on kind of a documentary kick lately. Oh, we also watched the Steve Ditko documentary.
Oh yes,
totally forgot about that.
Really briefly.
Yeah, so it came up on my YouTube recommendations, I guess, because I was watching some comic stuff. It's this like 1 hour documentary from 2007 called In Search of Steve Ditko. So this British guy, I think he's like a talk show host or something.
I think he's like a BBC, a big person in.
Yeah, his name's Jonathan Ross. So he's a big comic fan, whatever. And so does this whole documentary on the history of Steve Ditko and like finding where he is essentially, because after he left Marvel, he kind of like disappeared from everybody. He went and did a couple things for like DC and other companies, but nobody's really seen him or heard from him since then. So this whole thing is like he's given a history of everything in interviews with like, Stan Lee and Alan Moore. They got to come out of his cave and talk. And so that whole part,
another weird guy.
Yeah, he's interesting. But it was at the end they tracked down him and Neil Gaiman, who wrote Sandman, actually tracked down Steve Ditko's office in New York City. And this was back in 2007. He was still alive, obviously. And they walked up to his office, called him, and was like, "Can we come up just to talk to you?" And he's like, "No." All right, no problem, thanks. And then they hung up, and they're like, "We're going up there, right?" And he's like, "Yeah." They go up, and they're up there for like half an hour talking to Steve Ditko. And yeah, it was a really cool documentary, only like an hour long.
Yeah, definitely a strange guy. I mean, a lot of those people were. And, my favorite part about it, and I'd never seen this one, like a lot of these interviews, he actually got Stan and John Romita on there. And, I mean, Stan was like, it was funny because Stan was a little reluctant to say that, he's like, listen, he's like, I feel like I had the idea. I was the creator. I was like, but, he helped me bring him to life. So, it was important to him. So, yeah, he's the co-creator. But he said apparently he's like, I consider you the co-creator. Yeah, and apparently like he put that in the letter, and Steve Ditko did not like that. But John Romita was great too, because I don't think I've ever seen anything with John Romita. Like that's the first interview.
I didn't even know what he looked like.
Yeah, that was the first interview I've ever seen with him. Yeah. So it was crazy that he was saying, he's just like, he could have made millions. Like he could have been independently wealthy from Spider-Man.
I mean, his name is still on.
He just didn't care.
Yeah, like in the original Spider-Man movie with Tobey Maguire, like it says Spider-Man created by Stan Lee and Steve Ditko.
I think it still
does.
So
did he not receive residuals and stuff from that? Probably not, right?
Unless he declined the money.
I don't know. I also totally did not. I guess I knew this, but I totally did not realize he only did 38 issues of Spider-Man.
Crazy, I know. I actually didn't even realize he did that many.
You thought it was less?
I thought it was less. Yeah. When he said he went up that far, I was like, oh wow, I didn't realize that.
Because Alan Moore said it was like 35, so I went to look it up. I was like, no way. And then it was 38.
It was interesting, though. I would definitely check it out, Jim. I forgot. Did you say that in the group, or you just sent it to me?
I sent it to you. Yeah, I sent it to you. It's called In Search of Steve Ditko. It's on YouTube.
Yeah, send it to JJ, too. It was definitely worth watching.
Cool. I'll check it out.
Good. You guys have anything else, or you want to jump into our interview with John Broglia?
Yeah, let's do that.
All right, guys. Next, coming our interview with John Broglia. All right, guys. Really excited today. Awesome interview with our buddy John Broglia. He's a local artist out here on the island. You know, he's known for Zombie Sama, Mice Templar, God Complex, Unmasked, and a bunch of other things. John, thank you for joining the stream today, the podcast, everything.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yes, nice. Yeah. We're a big fan of all the artists that Don't Feed the Geeks. So, so I don't know how things have been going with you. I know we have this crazy thing going on right now. I'm sure, you know, the art lifestyle is really it works out as long as you're producing books. But I know that there's a stop right now. So how are you guys handling it?
Not bad. Well, first off, artists and all creators, we're built for this. We're built for staying in our dungeons and, you know, not having to go out to the sunlight. But I had one project going on right now. We just heard from, I'm actually allowed to talk about it now, which is great.
Oh, awesome.
We were on a stop, but briefly, and we just heard from them through Dark Horse Comics. And we just heard from them that we're back on. So it was a really quick turnaround. Will just be delayed a little bit. But so that didn't really affect us too much there, which was pretty good. Dark Horse has been great. They got back to us. They stayed in touch with us the whole time and got back to us really quickly, which has been fantastic. Other than that, it's just, you know, the whole family's home. And, you know, if there's a positive upside to this, it's this quality time that we're all kind of being forced in and stuck in to spend together. And that's a great aspect of it. I just wish wasn't coupled with such craziness, but
I know. Yeah, we tried to do an episode. What was it, like 2 episodes ago? We were talking about like quarantine life, but like trying to focus on the positives, and that's definitely one of the positives. You know, spending more time with the family. You know, not going out as much. It's an unfortunate situation, but you know, there are some positives coming out of it.
Yeah, you have to try and find some positive in it.
Yeah. So you're not just an artist now. You're a teacher. You're a cook. You're
luckily my wife's a teacher, so luckily,
all right, good.
Thank God she's home too, and she's been amazing. She's so good at handling all of this. She's taking care of her own students, and she's teaching our kids, and she's taking care of, you know, the house together. We're splitting responsibilities like we always do, but
wow,
she's been phenomenal.
Kudos to her.
Yeah, she's doing great.
That's awesome. We might be hiring her.
You know, I need it here. That's it.
So normally how we kick these off is we like to get our guest origin story. I think I mentioned that to you briefly, like your comic book origin story. We credited Tom Travers when we told him about the idea, and he actually gave us a name. He goes, oh, kind of like a comic book origin story. I was like, that's actually a great name. Exactly what we want to do. Yes.
Yeah, Tom's a great dude.
Yeah, he is a good guy. We've had him on the show a few times. But why don't you tell us John Broglia's origin story in the geek and comic culture?
There's no radioactive spiders or anything cool, but it's like
that's the 4th time.
Yeah.
How many more people? I went to college. I went to the School of Visual Arts in Manhattan. I had originally gone there for cartooning and illustration. About after freshman year, I believe it was, we had so many teachers that were like just talking us out of it. Like they were so negative about the industry that they were just like, you're not going to find work. You're not going to find a job. So I was the first person in my family, not only to go to college, but to pursue art. And I come from a very, middle class, blue collar, construction working family. So the fear of having all these loans and coming out of school and no job was scaring the heck out of me. So I started to panic. I was like, I have to do something. So a couple of buddies of mine, they was like, switch over to animation. You'll always have work. You'll always find, steady work. So I did. So I finished out the rest of the bachelor's degree doing animation and film. And I interned at a few animation studios coming right out of the box, but went immediately right back to my first love. My first gig was back in comics again. Two young guys who had like a trust fund or something like that they were being given. They wanted to start up their own company. They looked on the SVA website and found myself and one other artist. They ran out of money very quickly, which is, they didn't realize that was going to happen. But once they ran out of money, what we got out of it was a trip to San Diego to Comic-Con. So they paid for us to fly out to San Diego. We set up in, small press. In the small press section, I was watching like a zombie Jesus walk by and like, somebody dressed up as their own robot or something. And it was, complete insanity, but it was like crickets. I guess packed as San Diego Comic-Con was, that small press section, there was nobody but the creators over there. So myself and the other artists were finally like, we're just going to get up and go roam around. Like, this is our chance to be fanboys. So we went and I got to meet, oh my God, everybody that I was a big giant fan of, from Eric Larson to John Romita Jr. to Jim Lee. Walked around and I ran into Billy Tucci.
Ugh.
And yeah. Oh, right. It's always that guy. It always comes back to that guy.
Jesus.
6 Degrees of Billy Tucci. And so Billy and I met and his amazing wife, Debbie. And, we hit it off and we wanted to work together. So a few months later, we scheduled a meet at Pittsburgh Comic-Con and we did so. And we decided we were going to work on Zombie Sama. And this was 2006. Wow. And yeah, this was 2006. And we actually did release, that was my first published book. We released a short version of Zombie Sama through an Italian publishing company. It was Norwayne Publishing. They were trying to swing over to a brand new company. They were trying to come over to America. They snatched up, I think, like Jimmy Palmiotti, a handful of different top-notch guys, and Billy was one of their guys. So we did the book, and we put it out, and it was a limited, small release. It came out the first year New York Comic-Con started, so we did a signing at their booth there. And then that was really it, for that. And I had written an idea for Zombie Sama 2 and to keep it going, but I went off to work for Image. I worked on God Complex with Mike Oeming. I got to meet Mike Oeming at that. I was a giant fan of at that first New York Comic-Con. And, we just went our separate ways. And now, so many moons later, Billy and I are back doing Zombie Summer again, which is pretty cool.
That's great. So I think you skipped ahead a little bit, though.
Just a little bit.
So what started it? Like, when you were a kid, like, what got you into, like, what kind of led you to want to go to, like, the School of Visual Art and be an artist?
It was, my first books, I don't think I read anything except for Marvel and a little DC up until I was about 10 or 11 years old. I didn't even know anything else existed. I had a great comic shop right around the corner for me. I lived in there. That was like my second home. I grew up in Brooklyn, and it was, it was like my little home away from home. It was great in there. Started my mom used to take, I think it was right next door to her hair salon, her nail salon. So it was back in the 80s where you were allowed to just dump your kids somewhere else. You didn't have to hover over them every 4 seconds. So she was like, go stay in that comic store while I get my nails done. And I lived in it. I was like in there like every day. And I think about 11 years old, I think Image first came out. And once Image came out and I realized, wow, I was like, all these guys that I was following before on X-Men and Spider-Man and X-Force, they're actually allowed to do their own thing. Like, this, I didn't know that. I didn't know you could do your own thing in comics. I thought you had to only work on Marvel's characters. And that stuck with me till today, like till now. Like, I've always only really wanted to work on my own stuff. And it's because of them. It really is because of that original Image 7, and they changed the game for me right then and there. At that moment, I knew I wanted to make comics. I was about 11 years old.
That is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Was there a specific guy that you kind of really admired that you think influenced like your style or anything like that?
My style came out of my switch over to animation. Before School of Visual Arts, I was, like everybody else, it was, the 90s, I was trying to draw like Jim Lee. Everybody was like trying to draw like, like all the Image guys. But once I switched over to animation, Batman the Animated Series was a big influence. Obviously, Bruce Timm, Darwin Cook, Batman Beyond. He had the opening sequence of Batman Beyond. So all those guys, and that's where my style kind of shifted. Obviously, even when I was doing animation and working and studying animation, my love of comics was still there. I was still every Wednesday heading to the comic shop in the city right up the block was Cosmic Comics, and I was still getting my stash of comics every week. And the book that was really consistently rekindling my love, like not letting me move away from comics fully, was Powers. And that's how my affinity, my love for Mike Oeming's work, grew from there. Like Powers was another big moment. Powers was like, I was like, wow, these guys are like doing some crazy stuff on this. Like these guys are out of their minds. Like, like he's got like his monkey masturbation in this. Like, this is getting control and stuff. And I was like, these guys are really doing whatever they want. I said, and it was fantastic. So it was great crime stories. So that was the kind of book at that point when I was in college. That was the kind of book I wanted to do. So that kept my love of comics alive while I was still doing animation.
It's funny that you mentioned Darwin Cook because I put down a note. I was like, I get a lot, like not to give you too much of a ego here, but I get a lot of Darwin Cook vibes from your art. I was looking at it more and more. I was just like, wow. Like,
I see it in the faces.
It definitely has like a golden age feel, like your art.
I love all that.
It's so cool. Yeah.
So
I don't follow too many of the big two, like what's happening now, like in comics. Like I follow a lot of the creator-owned stuff. But when I do go to the superheroes and I go to that stuff, it's the golden age stuff. It's
it's the best.
Yeah, I mean, it's the essence of it. I love it.
So what was the animation that you did in school or after you graduated college? What type of animation were you doing?
Nothing major. It was really quick. Like I entered at a couple of small little studios. I think it was I can't remember the name. I think one was like B3 Pictures, and I don't know if I did anything with Noodle Soup at the time. They were doing Venture Brothers, but it was like a couple things here and there. But it was almost immediate. Like these guys came around and they looked me up and they emailed me about working on a comic. So I was like, all right, yeah. I was like, this is what I love. I said I can't. Yeah, I let her go and she flew back to me. Like I had to get back to comics, and I never went back to. And all my good friends are all working. They're working for Nickelodeon. They're working for all these top-notch places, and I just could never go back to animation. I had to do comics. Like comics was where my heart is.
The heart wants what the heart wants.
That's it.
So we see you have a pretty nice studio set up behind you.
It's very clean.
Yeah, I like that.
And a lot cleaner than Billy Tucci's. A lot cleaner than Billy Tucci's. It's a mess. Burn that third floor.
So when you finally get in the zone and you're working, what are kind of the must-haves when you're up and running in the studio?
Good question.
Coffee. It's a big one. A lot of times I like to, the way I set this up, I don't know if you guys can see it, but the way I tried to set, this is a new house. I tried to set it up where like my den, the family room is kind of here also. I wanted to set it up this way where I wasn't away from the family while I was working. I don't want to be separated all this time. Mm-hmm. But for some reason, they still don't come down here. I grab my art board and I'm sitting on the couch or on the floor up in the living room and we're watching, a Disney movie or something.
So you don't have a problem working with like the distractions around?
No, actually noise works better for me.
Oh, that's great.
It really does. Yeah. Like that's why I don't mind drawing a con or, anything like that. Or like, people are like, oh, can I watch you draw? And I'm like, yeah. The noise, even when I'm by myself, I try and I'll put on like the old serials, the old radio shows. I'll put on the shadow. I'll put on a podcast. Just where people are chatting and talking, I could hear some voices. It's always helpful.
That's cool.
Sorry, I was taking a drink of something. Right, I thought someone was going to jump in. So do you, like, in terms of like actual tools, like let's say somebody is interested in your style, what do you kind of use and what works best for, the style that you draw in?
I've been using lately I used to use brush and just ink, black Indian ink and a Raphael, SAVOR brush. Sorry, it's been a long time since I've used it. I usually use that, but for the sake of deadlines and trying to move as quickly as I possibly can, I really dropped it down to just the brush markers. Been using a lot of Kuretake brushes, Japanese brushes, stuff like that. Pentel has a handful of marker pens that have been fantastic. They got a great tip on them. I use mostly that Faber-Castell brushes.
And do you have a paper preference?
I get the Canson comic board. It comes in a pad, really easy. I can order it online. The Michaels near me actually carries it as well.
Oh, nice.
So if I'm in a snag and I can't wait for something to get to me online, I can get to order it, shoot over there and get it. So that's always good. So that's my paper preference. But work with whatever I have at the moment. Now we're in quarantine, man. I'm like, forget it.
Are you finding it hard to get art supplies that you need right now, or have you not run into that yet?
Thank God I ordered ahead of time because it's taking a month. It's actually taking a month. I don't know if I ordered at the wrong time. I bet you if I ordered now, Amazon Prime would have it here in 2 days. But I think at the time I ordered, it's saying it's not going to get to me. I ordered the end of March. It's not going to get to me till the end of April. But should be all right till then.
So by then you'll need stuff.
Yeah, just in time it'll come.
Nice.
All right, so now I'm going to ask you a hard question.
Oh, okay.
So
no math questions.
No. All you need to know is the prices of commissions. That's the only math that comes into play.
Oh, I don't even know that. I'll wing that as it is.
So, in terms of like your artistic skill, what would you say you really excel at, and what's the other thing that you wish you would improve? Like,
What do I think I would do?
Yeah, well, like, what area would you like to? Would you personally think that you need to improve?
Your greatest strength and your greatest weakness?
Yeah.
There you go. All right. We're artists. We think that all of our stuff sucks.
Well, I'm sure.
We can always improve on everything. I always feel like I can improve on every aspect of it. Like, there is never a moment where I'm like, yes, this is a massiveness. Like, that never comes, and that should never come. That time should never happen. Like, I should be 90, hopefully, God willing, sitting at this table and still going, I gotta learn that. But I think that things that I do well is panel layout, my storytelling. I think storytelling is very obviously the most important thing that you can do. What can I really push on? Oh, backgrounds and perspective and cars and motorcycles and all that stuff. That's the more technical, aspect of everything. But I hate having to pick up a ruler, and that sounds crazy because I'm a cartoonist. But I actually hate picking up a ruler, so I try and use a ruler as little as possible. But sometimes you have to, and it's it kind of almost sucks the fun out of it. But
you must have crazy straight lines if you don't use it that often.
I use it. I do use it, but it's a pain in the butt.
Are there any characters you've been asked to do in commissions that are like that you just struggle with and have always struggled with?
For some reason, like, I don't know why, but like big two characters. I don't know why. Almost like, and I actually watched something not too long ago where Joe Quesada was talking about the same thing, and I think Dan DiDio, they were both talking about that, and they were saying how even like big name guys sometimes come on a book. They've always wanted to draw Batman, and then when they finally get the chance, they're like, oh, like what happened? And it's almost because you have like this image of them. You have this whole set thing in your mind from when you were a kid. There's too much love almost for the characters, and then finally when you go to do it, you're like, it's almost like the hundreds of artists and writers and everybody that's come before you, like, floods through your head, and you're like, I can't do this. It's like, it's like start to like, freak out. But yeah, it's probably mostly like big two. For some reason, and I love Spider-Man. Spider-Man was my favorite character growing up. Favorite character as a kid, and for some reason, Spider-Man, freaks me out. I got to race and do it over and over and over again.
I'd like a giant Spider-Man, please.
I was just going to ask that. At a discount.
So what do you get asked the most often to draw?
Probably the Rocketeer, which works out for me. Yeah.
I got one coming.
Got one coming. But which works out because that's my absolute favorite.
Is that your favorite one to draw as well?
My favorite. I got the helmet sitting back here.
Oh, I do. Yeah. I can see it. That's awesome.
Yeah, I got the helmet. I have a little mini version of the jetpack. I got a whole Rocketeer wall.
Have you heard about the new Disney? It's a Disney animation project they're doing, right, for the Rocket?
Yeah, Disney Junior. It's been on for a little while now. Trying to get my daughters into it. It's cute. It's a cute show.
Yeah, it's
for like old, for a long time Rocketeer fans. It's not the show we hoped for, probably, but yeah, I have two young girls, so it's cool in that regard.
I have a 4-year-old daughter too, and it's like trying to get her into the stuff without like forcing it on her at the same time. So she comes in and I do like an education on all the characters' names and stuff like that, and like Masters of the Universe stuff. So she's slowly getting interested, but like not there yet.
I've tried. I have an 8-year-old and a 4-year-old, and if I put on the Rocketeer helmet, my 4-year-old goes crying out of the room. She screams and flips out. But it's you kind of just introduce it and hope that they jump on it.
Yeah.
Most of the time they're probably not. Which stinks. So at least for me, I'm like, oh, it's like heartbreaking. Everything. I feel like when I was a kid, everything my father showed me, and like my father was much older. He put on like Spartacus, and I'm like, I'm watching Spartacus. I love Spartacus. Like, he'd put on the original Flash Gordon serial, and I'd be like, oh, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen. But I was into like everything he showed me, and I'm like, this is not working now. I don't know what he did. I don't know what he did.
It's a different generation.
I think my first sketch from you was a Rocketeer and a Betty, which you did like a couple years ago. And it's one of my favorites.
Yeah, thank you. No, I appreciate it.
I was thinking about it today. I was like, I think between the three of us, we probably have at least 10 pieces from you.
You guys are always awesome.
At least.
Really.
You did a great,
he just posted that, sorry.
You did a fantastic Black Manta for me, and it's a beautiful, like that was absolutely
awesome.
Gorgeous.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite ones, man. I actually like how that came out. I was actually happy with that.
I was going to bring that one up. I think probably my two favorite between the ones that we have is that one and the one you posted on Easter the other day, the Usagi Jimbo. I was like, oh, that's mine.
That's the character.
Like, I love those two.
There are a handful of licensed characters that I would love to tackle. Obviously, Rocketeer is at the top of that. I would love to do a Rocketeer book. Usagi, I would love to do a Usagi book. But a lot of my loves, that's why I like the big two. Not that I don't like them. I think they're all fantastic, but that's more like back in my childhood. Like I'm more into some of the creator-owned stuff. My love for licensed characters goes to those old pulp heroes, like those old pulp characters. You give me pretty much anything on the Dynamite line, you give me any of that, I'll run wild with it.
Oh yeah, that's like that's cool. They all have that look that you
Shadow, and I'll forget it, Doc Savage,
Oh, Shadow's another good one.
Oh, you can get that now.
All right, so we mentioned a bunch of the notable projects you've worked on. What would you say, in your opinion, is kind of like the bigger ones that you've worked on to date?
Probably my image book, God Complex, was pretty awesome. That was a highlight for me. One, because it was image, and two, because it was Omi. It was Mike Omi. So getting to work for a company that shaped my decision in picking my career, finally getting to work for them was one of the coolest things. I would love to work with them again. And then getting to work with Mike, like I said before, I met Mike at New York Comic Con, and I kind of went over to him with my portfolio. I got up I was signing at the Norwayne booth, and I went over to, he was right down the hall there, right down the aisle. And I went over to him. I said, I'm a big fan of yours. Can you mind looking through my book? And I had just moved out to Jersey at the time, and that's where he was living. And I didn't even know that. The name tags, the first year in New York Comic Con, the name tags actually had your town and state, which was kind of weird. So they said your town and state from where you were, where you were living, which is weird. And I saw that his town that he was at in Jersey wasn't far from where I was at the time. And he noticed that actually, because I didn't know Jersey from a hole in the wall, but he knew that. And he was like, oh, you live right by me. And I was like, oh, do you mind if I come and intern for you? I'll sit in your basement, I'll ink stuff for you, I'll get you coffee, I'll photocopy, whatever you want to do. And he's such a humble guy. He's one of the most stand-up, humble, nicest people you could possibly meet. And he was just I don't really have interns. He's like, I don't have interns. Why don't you just come hang out? Why don't you just come hang out with us?
That's awesome.
Because we do a drink and draw once a week. He goes, just come hang out with a bunch of them. So yes, I eventually got to work with Mike, but more importantly, right off the bat, we got to become friends, which was
that's awesome.
Actually, that was icing on the cake.
It's so funny when you said that, image influenced your decision to do this, and then you actually got to work on it. When you were saying that, just thinking of being able to do something like that gave me goosebumps. So I can only imagine how that felt for you. That's just so cool.
I was so excited.
Was it scary?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, every time I work, I'm doing the book for Dark Horse now. Dark Horse is another company I've always wanted to work for. This is my first time. I kind of did a short story with Dark Horse accidentally. Before I had done a short story on somebody's book, and then eventually the collected edition of the book was picked up by Dark Horse. I was like, yeah, I've done Dark Horse. But not really. So this is the first time I'm actually, artist on a book, and it's a creator-owned project, which is cool.
How much?
I get to do something.
How much of a difference is it from working with Image to now working with Dark Horse? I mean, is there a major difference between the two, as in work-wise?
Yeah, I think Image, you're really kind of self-publishing with Image. When I worked with them, I don't know how it is now. When I worked with them, it was a long time ago. That was probably 10 years ago now at this point. So I don't know, it could be different now. But it was very much me, Mike, another writer, Daniel Berman, who was also fantastic. And it was just the three of us. Dan was also doing the colors and lettering. And we had some contact with an editor there, but it was really mostly us handling it ourselves, promoting it for the most part ourselves. Image would put it a little preview of the book in the back of some of their other issues that were out, that were coming out. And we were in previews and all that stuff. But Dark Horse has been more dealing with, a studio like you would normally probably deal with one, a publishing company. We got a little stipend in the beginning. Since it's creator-owned, we'll see back end. But it's we're dealing hands-on with the editor, who Brett Israel is the editor. He's fantastic. He's been so awesome with all of us. I'm doing the book with, just want to mention everybody. I'm doing the book with Neil Clyde, writer Neil Clyde, who actually did he did the novelization for Craven's Last Hunt.
Oh wow.
Yeah, off the original issues, off the original trade and everything like that. He did the novelization to that, and he did Powers novelization with Bendis, which is awesome. The guy's a super talented writer, unbelievable writer.
That's cool.
And Frank Reynoso is the colorist on it. He's doing a great job. He's coloring the heck out of this thing. It's called SAVOR. That's the name of the book. So we've been dealing straight on with an editor, and I'm dealing now with press, press release and promotion, and it's very cool. It's definitely a different experience. It's very, very cool working with them.
That's cool.
Are there any kind of projects or characters you've worked on that you felt kind of fell a little short, but you'd like to revisit again maybe one day?
Zombie Sama was one of them.
Okay.
Yeah, Zombie Sama was, not that it fell short. It was just that I wanted to do more.
Yeah.
We had done a 48-page story that first go around. And like I said, that was my first book. So the art is horrible. Like you could literally use it as toilet paper at this point. But I fell in love with that character that Billy wrote. Like Billy Tucci wrote such a great character. I completely fell in love with it. And that's why I like almost immediately jumped to, outlining a second and a third storyline. That's how much I wanted to go further. And I had shown it to Billy. He loved the idea. But then I think at the time he went out to Sergeant Rock and I went out to God Complex. And that's just how it always was. Like I was working on something and he was working on something for years. But we would see each other at New York Comic Con. We'd chat it up and we'd say, we got to do this. But we just didn't have the time. Then eventually, I don't know, it was 2016 or 15 or something like that. I finally came over to him and I was like, Billy, we got to do this. Like, I still want to do this book. And he's like, all right, great. Let's put the old book out. And I'm like, no. I said, we gotta do this from scratch. Let's do it over. Cause I know he wanted to write more of it. He wanted more of a story. That Norwayne kind of edited out the first go around. So I was like, you write it the way you want it. I'll draw it the way I want it. And let's put this back out and we'll do the Kickstarter. And he was like, yeah, he's like, I've been dying to do Kickstarter. Let's do it. So we did it. And, it did very well. It was the most lucrative Kickstarter I've had, that's for sure. And now we're rocking and rolling on 2. Now I finally get to tell that second and third story I always wanted to.
Nice. So have you dipped into any of so purely 2 and then you're doing 3 all on its own, or are you taking a little bit?
I'm working on 2 now. I scripted it. It's going to be, Billy was like, you do Zombie Summer, I'm going to do She. We'll both be on the Crusade, Fine Arts, and we'll rock and roll. And this is my first legit writing gig, which is cool.
Wow.
So this is my first writing credit.
So you're writing and
I'm writing and drawing Zombie Summer 2 right now.
That's cool.
Yeah,
impressive.
How does it feel to have complete control?
It is. I just posted about that not too long ago. It is. I was actually getting mad at everybody I know that's done their own books and written their own and drawn their own books. And I was like, you guys never told me that this is nerve-wracking. I said, this is so nerve-wracking, but in a great way. I want to say I've worked with some amazing scripts and amazing writers. Guys that, I don't even know. We'll find out soon if I write well. I don't even know if I write well enough. But doing it this way, getting to write and draw the characters and have all this freedom is the closest I felt to being a kid again and making those little folded loose leaf paper and making your own comics and creating your own characters when you were a kid. This is the closest I've had to that feeling as an adult,
That's really cool.
Yeah, it's amazing. It really is. But it's nerve-wracking at the same time. I'm
sure.
I'm nitpicking everything, every aspect. But I think because of that, I'm getting some of my best pages out of me, which I'll be posting them tomorrow, I think.
Ooh.
I'm going to just the inks. It's the opening sequence. It'll be 7 pages of the book. I'm going to, the Zombie Sama fan page on Facebook, I'm going to post it strictly on there, just the 7 pages.
So those of you listening now, go back to April 14th to go see that post.
That's right.
So can we talk about Zombie Summer right now? Is that a good segue?
Yeah,
okay.
Absolutely.
So again, I was a big fan of the Kickstarter, and I'm pretty close with Billy, so I've known about this for quite a while also, and he's told me all about it. And I'm one of the guys that actually got the name. I was able to name one of the characters, which was pretty cool. And again, I read it again last night, and so whose idea is it for? You did the art. Whose idea is it for the placement of the art? So I took a lot of Long Island. This takes place on Long Island. Is the second book going to be also on Long Island?
The second book, the opening sequence does. The second book is actually going to take place a couple of years later.
Okay.
And Jim is trying, this outbreak that happened in the first book has kind of been squashed and taken care of. But Jim spent a year, we discover, roaming Long Island, trying to save whoever he could, and seeing some pretty horrific stuff along the way. You got to remember, he's only about 17 or 18 in that book. So now he's about 20, and all he wants to do is move on with his life. He wants to do what every other 20-year-old would do. He's going to go off to college. He wants to, now that things have gotten, almost think about it in this crazy quarantine situation, this crazy pandemic we're in now, people want to get back to normalcy. And that's what he wants to do. So he heads off to college just to, to move on with his life. He wants to become a sushi chef. We find out that's why he was delivering at the sushi place. He was studying under Sanjuro, the guy who owned the sushi shop, and was his mentor. And he's a culinary student, and he's trying to major in sushi. And he finds out quickly that no matter where he goes, that this is going to follow him. Like, he just can't escape destiny. And we discover that there's more to the title of Zombie Sama than he knew. Like, it's almost, I don't want to say, I don't know, I don't want to give too much, but there's more to it, and there's more to the sword. There's actually even more to the sword. So we'll see a little bit of that in 2, and then we'll really unveil all of it in 3.
Do you already have a plan for the release?
I'm working, it's 100 pages, so I'm working on those now. I'm only about 7 pages in. But hopefully as quickly as I can get that done, then we can go Kickstarter again. So we're hoping maybe end of this year, start, early next year for the Kickstarter.
I love the placement. When you're reading along and you knew exactly where you're at when you got to a certain point, you kind of knew where the Bayport Aerodome is, because I've been there a few times. I know exactly where that's at. And you talked about there's the panel where they go to the dive shop and, it's Diver's Way. And that was a dive shop that I learned to dive in Bayshore. And I'm wondering if that was always was that the same place,
That's all Billy, man. Yeah. That's all Billy.
It's crazy the way he did all that.
Yeah. When we first started the book in 2006, I still had all the references. I still kept it. But he bombarded me with a ton of references. He was like, this is what this looks like. This is what this looks like. Because I was living in Brooklyn and then New Jersey. I rarely came out to Long Island. I don't know what.
So did you know these places?
No, I've never seen these places in my life. And so he's like, yeah, this is all the reference. So he Google imaged everything. He sent me everything. So I still had that. So the only difference between the old book and this book was that I could draw it a lot better this time. So we actually know what it is.
That's cool.
And that only comes with years of experience.
It's a fun book.
I'm big on my establishing shots. I need establishing shots so we know where we are.
Cool.
Listen, I've been living here for 12 years. I still only know my area too, so don't feel bad.
I'm
in Brooklyn also.
I've been out here for about 12 years now too, so I don't know anything.
So can you tell us anything about the Dark Horse project? Did you say it was called SAVOR?
SAVOR, like when you would it be?
SAVOR.
SAVOR. SAVOR.
Oh, SAVOR.
Oh, okay.
Savoring something. It's a great story. This is all Neil Clyde, man. He came up with this really imaginative story. I'll tell you how I met Neil, which is pretty cool. We had worked separate stories, but we had worked on that, the Image book, Where We Live. It was the anthology series that was raising money for the victims of the Vegas shooting.
Gotcha.
So we had done, separate stories in that, and then they were doing a signing tour. So we met at Barnes and Noble in the city. And since he knows Bendis and Oming, they were like, oh, you're going to be sitting there with John. You guys got to meet up and team up. So we did a superhero team up, and, we hit it off. He sent me a handful of, different synopses for different storylines he's working on. He was like, which one do you want to work on? And this one just jumped out at me. And that's cool. Most writers I've dealt with usually have this, and that's how they approach an artist. They have a little blurb of, 5, 6 different projects, and they're like, pick one. And I always loved looking at that. I'm like, this is so cool. Like a big kid. I'm like, oh, look at these little stories. So SAVOR just completely jumped out at me. It's really cool. It's about a young girl who lives on an island, it's an imaginary island, it's a made-up island, but it's in the real world. It exists in our world. And it's a place where all the greatest foods come together in 5 of the greatest restaurants on the island. And it's all these master chefs live there, and tourists travel there. But once you get to the island, there's like no Wi-Fi. There's no, it's really simplified life. And you're there to really enjoy the food and savor everything that the island has to offer and the people that live there. She has to also the culture there is they're also warriors. They live like a warrior lifestyle. They eat well and they fight well. And she heads out kind of Batman style. She has to head out for X amount of years, travel the world, see the world, learn to cook from all different types of people, and come back. And her parents own one of the top restaurants on the island. So when she leaves, as soon as she leaves, and she leaves her closest friend and crush behind, she leaves, she comes back 6 years later, and the island's been overrun by a demon chef and his pirates. And she has to go on this unbelievable adventure throughout the island to free everyone. And it's such a great story. It really is. It's a heck of a lot of fun.
It sounds like a lot of fun. That's the word I was going to describe. It sounds like a fun story. I'm
it's an all ages book. Well, it's middle, but young adult. Let's say young adult book. But it's great. It's really a heck of a lot of fun.
All right, I want the John Broglia variant exclusive cover.
Yeah, man. I think that's the only cover.
When does that drop? When does that drop?
What?
When does that drop or come out?
It didn't yet. It was originally slated for August, and then all this happened. So the solicitations were actually just dropping, and then everything got crazy. So I believe we'll have a press release just around the time that everybody hears this. And then
which worked out well.
Yeah, I think we're slated. It should be in the July solicited previews. It should be in July.
Oh, for like September or so.
Yeah, I think it'll be later on. I think solicitation maybe is July, maybe, I don't know. But I'm not sure. But it should be coming out early next year, I think.
That's very exciting.
It was originally August and it was pushed back a little.
Wow, very exciting.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a lot of fun. It's a 140 something page graphic novel, so
that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Sorry, I was taking notes. You guys don't want to jump in?
No, I see all the list. Did he covered everything? I mean, this is fantastic.
So is there anything else? What else you got? Or do you already have a full plate?
Yeah.
What can you tell us at least?
Well, obviously Zombie Summer 2, so we got that. The official title of it too is Zombie Summer 2 Dorm of the Dead.
Yeah.
Ooh,
that's the official
I like
awesome.
that.
Yeah, so it'll be like when you asked before if it's on Long Island, it's actually going to be, there's really no specific destination for it. I kind of thought of Connecticut. I wanted them to be out of state because that sets up the long distance relationship with Jane from the first book. Tables have turned a little bit, where, kind of he was chasing after Jane and she left him in the first book. Now it's kind of they're together, but it's long distance and she kind of wants him closer because he was off fighting for his life for a year. So the third book is where it's going to get crazy. Like the third book, we really kind of round out the trilogy. I wanted to make it into a nice little trilogy, have all of the backstory. I wrote so much more backstory to it. I wanted all that to come out. So that'll be the title for that is Zombie Summer 3, The Way of the Dead.
Nice.
So that'll be the third one.
Awesome.
And the movie, and when's the movie coming out?
Hopefully through Netflix and hopefully soon.
Can we be extras?
Yes, we want to be extras. If that happens, we're going to have to find the book through the Italian publisher. Then everybody's going to want those.
I have them all here.
I just ordered it.
I have them all here. I'm going to make money off myself.
You just ordered
I just ordered it.
I still have them. Yeah, I still have them. I don't know where they are. I still have them. They're in a box.
Awesome.
Cost me $6.
Good stuff, man. Well, we appreciate you joining us tonight. This was a lot of fun.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
I think people are going to like this interview.
Yeah.
It's a lot less cussing than when Billy was on.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if I was allowed. I have a potty mouth, but I don't know if you guys are okay with the cuss.
So we try to be PG-13.
Yeah, it's like
so 1 or 2 slips, it's okay. Billy dropped like 12 F-bombs during our episode, and I was like,
and then asked like every 5 minutes, wait, can I curse?
That's usually me. I've been checking myself.
I was like, JJ, you have to cut these out. Like, you have to bleep them.
We started naming them.
What else have you been doing besides drawing to keep sane during the quarantine?
Oh, I got 2 little kids, man. It's just keeping them sane that's the
takes up all your time.
Important part. Yeah, that's taking up all the time.
So this,
but it's actually been pretty. They've been great. We set up the backyard and let them play and got their schoolwork, and we've been finding just fun stuff to do. Can't complain.
Yeah, I wish I would have came over for Easter dinner last night because it looked really good.
Oh, it was so good. It was so good. My deviled eggs. That was good.
Oh, my mom made deviled eggs too.
Oh, that was good.
So have you about your daughters? Are they interested in drawing like you? I mean, do you try to steer them in that direction or show them?
I don't try and push it on them because I don't want them to feel like they have to. I try and just I draw around them. They see me drawing all the time. Also, sometimes I feel like they're like, because of that, they're kind of like it's no big deal to them. They're like, yeah, okay, great. Like I show them sometimes, they're like, wow, look at Daddy drew, and they're like, yeah, oh, that's nice. Good. I'm gonna go back to my iPad. But but a lot of times, my oldest one, she's really good artist. She's very good.
I see her draw at the shows. She charges money for.
Yeah, she was the one I brought to the show. Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, she loves it. We actually caught up on all her art projects today for school. So she went from painting to pencil drawing to origami to we built a robot. It was like,
nice.
I'm thinking about going into acting after this. My daughter has me portray every single character in the Disney movies. I've done real good with all the Scottish accents from Brave. So.
Hey, do voice acting.
Yeah, I might go that route.
That's cool.
You do a little voice acting.
Yeah, that's really awesome. Do they ever come up to you like, oh, that's cool, Dad? Look at this one that Jim Lee did. Do they ever like pull that move on you?
Hey, Dad, can you do this?
I don't show them to me.
No, I'm the only artist. There's no other.
They'll be like, Dad, you suck.
This is the only art.
Oh man, we're gonna have to do this again.
Definitely. I know. I spoke to Neil, Neil Clyde, the writer for SAVOR. I spoke to him today and told him I was coming on. So he actually wants to come on. The 2 of us come back on.
That'd be awesome.
More about
Absolutely.
SAVOR.
Yeah, definitely let us know when you guys are ready.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. All right. Awesome. Well,
fantastic.
Thank you again, John. This is
thank you for joining us.
Talking to you again. Always a pleasure.
All right. Well, we'll be back soon with you.
Very cool, guys. Thank you.
All right. Thanks again, John Broglia. Awesome interview, guys. I can't wait to read SAVOR and Zombie Sama 2.
Woo. Yeah, very excited about that. I'm so excited about Zombie Sama. I don't know why, but I'm so hung up.
You have a big part in that, JJ.
It turns out, after I read it, I don't think I even brought this up to John, Bo, but like I did one, like I got to name a character in the book through the Kickstarter, but then as I was reading the book, I started noticing that there was a bubble with my wife's name and then my last name, but spelt a little differently. It was off by 1 letter. And I'm wondering if that had to be Billy Tucci's deal. And it turned out to be.
He probably made a mistake. Right?
I think what happened, I think this is what happened. I think when he thought I was going to have my wife in the book and then put her name in it. And then when I said, hey, I want my character name to be this, he kept it. So I'm hoping that's the story, but technically I've got 2 names in the book. One, my wife's name is in the book, and then my father-in-law's name is in the book. So it's pretty cool. I'm a big Zombie Samba fan. That's my rant.
I was excited too when he said that he was working on 3 and even had an idea for 4.
Yeah, I'm so excited.
Yeah,
it's silly. Anyway.
All right, well, Geek Freaks, now put on your pants.
Oh, you screwed that up.
Shoot.
Rewind. Let's do it.
We're gonna cut this part out.
No, we're not.
All right, Geek Freaks.
Wow, this is great.
We're usually much better than this.
This is great.
All right, Geek Freaks, put on your parachute pants, lace up your British Knights, zip up your members only jackets, and hop in your DeLorean because we're traveling back to the 80s for our new 80s movie review segment called The Good, the Bad, and the Geeky.
Nice.
And as a bonus, we have a special guest with us, Mr. Toy Story's sister. Do you want to use a fake name, or do you want us to call you by your real name?
My real name's fine.
Julie.
All right, Julie.
Okay. So Julie still reluctantly watched. Well, TC, continue please with what our movie is this evening.
No. So our movie, as we said in the beginning of the episode, is The Thing from 1982, not the remake, starring Kurt Russell and not a lot of other really famous names, just people you've recognized, but if you see
unlike that era of movies.
Yeah.
Actually,
it's a John Carpenter movie.
Actually, some of those guys were pretty famous. I mean, you guys wouldn't notice, but back in my day, I mean, I've seen them in other movies, a lot of westerns, I think, and stuff like that. I mean, they were big namers.
It looked like a western crew.
Yeah, they were big names back in that day.
Like Wilford Brimley was definitely someone I recognize. Keith David,
huge.
Definitely someone. Yeah.
That's my error. I know.
So obviously we're all in quarantine right now. So we decided to watch this movie last week, and Julie was forced against her will to watch it. She hates any movie before like 2006.
Ooh.
So don't even get me on watching Star Wars Episode 4 and 5 the last couple days.
Wow.
But that's for another episode. So who wants to go first?
I think you should start it off.
Yeah,
you and Julie started off.
All right, I'll start it. I'll go first, and then Jim will crush.
You know what? Let's do it at the end, because I feel like I'm gonna be in the middle of both of you guys.
Yeah.
That's fine.
I'm not gonna say all my thoughts, but I'll give like a general overview first. So, okay, plot synopsis. So, you got these group of guys. They're at like some sort of military camp in the Antarctic, I think. The movie opens up with this pan of a UFO through space, and then in the Antarctic area, you got a helicopter chasing what looked like an Alaskan like Malamute, like a wolf dog, through the snow. Husky. Thank you. A husky running through the snow. They're trying to shoot the dog, and the dog's
a bad way to start a movie for me.
Yeah, totally.
I was like,
what is going on?
You can kill as many people as you want, but don't mess with the dog.
Don't kill the dog.
Long story short, the dog basically makes its way to this compound with these guys in it. And turns out the dog is some sort of alien life form that can basically completely copy whatever living organism that it wants. Shapeshift into looking and behaving exactly like whatever it wants to and whatever it can see. So the dog infiltrates this camp and is like, walking around, because they had a bunch of Alaskan dogs there, a bunch of huskies there, so he kind of blended in. And the entire movie is basically, there's this thing in here that could be made to look like and behave like any one of us, and we don't know where he is or how to find him. So that's did I hit it?
No, I think that's a pretty good synopsis.
All right, so
how do you go into your thoughts?
Yeah, so I
give hers.
I thought this was The Blob. I totally I don't know why I thought I was gonna watch The Blob, but it was not. I had no idea what this was about. I didn't even know John Carpenter made it until I went on IMDb or until the opening credits. But I absolutely loved it. Absolutely loved it. And I see Tess and TC smirking, and I see JJ giving me a death stare. So I thought it was it's a very simple story. There's nothing to it. You could even argue that there's like, between the beginning and the end of the movie, nothing freaking happens. But what I loved about the story was that the thing, the creature, whatever it was, the movie wasn't about that. It was about the trust issues that it created between the people, between all the guys living in that camp. The bulk of the movie was, I don't know who to trust. I can't trust you. You can't trust me. What do we do about this? And that becomes like a whole crazy moral, question. Like, what do we do if we think someone is this thing and is going to try and kill us? What do we do if we're wrong? That was my biggest thing that I loved about it. It didn't focus on the creature, even though I thought the concept of the creature was really cool. That was my biggest takeaway from it.
Wow.
That was deep. That was deep. Now I look at
other stuff.
I look at it differently now. So that was deep.
Okay. So other stuff I loved.
Still didn't like it.
I thought that was some of the best looking practical effects I've ever seen in a movie. It was very. I don't even know if I would say believable, but it looked so good, and nothing about it was computer generated. It looked like.
And I think that's kind of what makes it almost more realistic, because now we're so used to computer generated that we almost don't see any reality in like what we're being shown when it comes to stuff like that. So this is like, I mean, I'll get into it more, but like it is it's much more believable.
Exactly. That scene in the when the dog first like was in the pen with the other dogs and kind of exploded into whatever. I thought they were gonna either not show that too much, or B, it was gonna be some crappy early '80s CGI. And when I saw like the puppetry or the animatronics, whatever it was, I was completely blown away. That was just me. I mean, there's a lot of other stuff I could say about it. Should I continue, or do you guys want to give your thoughts on certain things?
No, well, let her go first. But before Julie goes, do you get any like thing that may have came from inspiration from other things? Like, did you see like them taking things from different kind of movies and genres or ideas?
I think that's tough for Toy Story, because I mean, how young you are.
I'm sure there's tons of stuff, and I'm sure I haven't seen a lot of it. I haven't inspired it.
I have a few, and then I'm sure JJ will as well.
Yeah.
So let's get your thoughts, special guest.
I agree that it was very real looking, and that was entertaining, but the rest of the movie I did not enjoy.
Why?
I just thought it was very boring. I didn't like the story at all. It was very direct.
Mm-hmm.
What do you mean by direct?
Like, there was nothing exciting happening in the story. Just what was happening, what was happening. You didn't have to read behind anything, which I did not like.
It was very much, what you see is what you get. I get it.
Yeah.
Did you have a grade, Toy Story?
I gave it 9.2 on my post.
That's right.
I'm sticking with that right now.
Does Julie know our grading system?
So you know the comic book grades?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it goes like that. So like half grades.
Okay.
Up until 9, and then it's 9.2, 9.2.
I don't think we're going to have to worry about her getting into a 9.
But like 5.5, 6.0, 6.5.
I'll give it like a 5.
She's replacing Matt. She's replacing Toy Story. Liking this.
Billy, for comparison, what would you give the 2 Star Wars movies that you watched?
Oh, easy. No.
No, they weren't bad.
Oh, come on.
They definitely weren't bad. It's just not my type of movie.
All right.
That's fair. I think it's hard to watch those, especially even now. Like, to never have seen the original ones before. I mean, at least I had kind of the luxury of seeing those for the first time in the mid to late 80s. I mean, to watch them in 2020.
When you're used to like all the movies that come out now.
It's a little tough.
Yeah.
It is a little tough. I can understand that to a certain degree.
Yeah. One thing I got to say before you continue is I thought that the best actor in the whole damn movie was the dog. That dog, when it was creeping around the compound and when it would look into the camera and just stare and not even move its eyes, whoever was training that dog or like doing whatever behind the scenes, like, that blew me away.
It was a big juicy.
Well trained.
It's a big juicy steak. That's what they did. I mean, come on.
His look was so unsettling. Like, you could just tell there was something off about him. And
it was before PETA got involved, so they could do whatever they wanted to. All right, I feel like I'm going to be somewhere in the middle here, so I'll go before JJ. JJ trashes it.
I'm not going to trash it.
So you also don't love horror movies, right?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not so much horror. I'm not a big fan of it. So I think that my issue with it was I don't like disgusting.
Okay.
Like, there's a lot of things I go to see a movie for. It's not to be disgusted. And it's not like the blood and like when I was a kid, I used to be scared of crap. I used to be a little, whatever. But like as I got older, like it didn't scare me. I just it didn't entertain me. Like, and I felt like, to your point, I feel like what they did with the special effects was gross and disgusting. but it was great. It was fantastic the way they did it. I just felt like it was almost too much. It was just like, I don't need all that.
I think that's where the horror aspect of it comes. Even though I wouldn't.
100%. I mean, I like the idea, the concept. I would have preferred it just being like a morph. Like, why did it have to like explode before it turned into something else? I just didn't understand the necessity for that. Like, why don't you just like morph into somebody else? I'll be honest though. So I did get a lot of vibes. So like that opening scene, like mirrored. I mean, I think Predator probably stole it from them.
I've never seen Predator.
After you have to watch that.
I know. I need to.
But then I also got like Alien vibes as well. Mm-hmm. The thing I like about this more than Alien though, and it goes a little bit against what Julie was saying, is that I like that it didn't take them forever to figure out what's going on. Like, you get so angry in movie like Aliens where it's just like, oh, we don't know what's going on. Like, you know, it takes them like 3/4 of the movie to realize it's something like morphing into them. Yeah. Like, this was like right to the point. They're like, they bring back that body, which they never would have done in any other movie. Like, why would you even bring back that grotesque body? They search through it. They're like, hey, something's going on here. We have to figure out what it is. And then somehow they figure out that things are morphing. Like that doctor, Dr. Blair, like he figures out like what's going on like right away. I was like, this is awesome.
Well, that's what I was talking about, where I felt like the thing was more of a plot device than the actual focus of the movie, because they got to it so early on. It shifted from, okay, what's this, to the ramifications of this.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I like that focus on it.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. Like, you know, when he first is in that dog pen, it's just like, oh, they're gonna change this guy, and then like no one's gonna know. But then everyone comes in. I hate that.
I'm so sick of that.
As like everyone comes in right away, and they know what's going on.
Yeah.
I mean, he got to that one guy, like the guy who was like the hippie-ish guy. Mm-hmm. Presumably, he morphed him the first night, right? Like he was one of the first, whatever it was, changelings. But I mean, I think Kurt Russell, I think most of the performances were actually pretty good. I do get it was almost a little too straightforward. I didn't see, like, I agree that's what they were doing with your, like, the trust issues and stuff like that.
It wasn't deep beyond that.
It wasn't deep. No, it wasn't like a very deep story. It was very straightforward. The fact that you don't know if...
See, I like that, though. There was no, like, beating around the bush or anything.
And no, I did. And I feel like if it wasn't for that, I would have liked it a lot less. Mm-hmm. But at the end, you don't know, like, child's deal. Like, is he, you know, they just kind of ended. I was like, you presume they're both going to die, but is one of them, you know.
I really enjoy open-ended endings like that. I know it's a lot of people don't. I really enjoy them. Well,
I mean, that could also be is like, you know, they were figuring if it does well enough, maybe we could do it too. Yeah. I think that's probably what that was.
I heard 2011 things sucked, so let's not.
Yes. I mean, I think overall it wasn't terrible. I'm gonna give it a pretty fair score of 6.5. I didn't hate it, but I probably won't ever watch it again. But I didn't completely hate it. I enjoyed it.
See, this is a movie I feel like I could watch many times and not get bored with.
Yeah, no, I think I'm good. Because it's too it's too gross.
You're not into that, I got it.
No, I'm not into like the like shooting and blood, but like once you have to like explode an entire person and they turn inside out, I'm just that's not for me.
One thing I loved, the blood test scene. I thought that was one of the most like nerve-wracking, unsettling scenes I've ever seen.
That scene probably bumped it from the 6 to a 6.5 to me. Because before then, I was at like a 6, and then I was like, this is actually a pretty good scene. It got a half a point out of me for that.
That's pretty good, half point for one scene.
Yeah. All right. Now
listen.
He's been trashing this all week.
JJ, you got to be honest. You just got to be honest.
I didn't like it. I didn't like it.
We're going to do a lot of these, so we're all going to feel differently.
Yep, and I'm one of those people. I didn't like it. Like, I remember when this movie came out in the theaters. I remember seeing the previews. It was in the newspapers. I saw it.
Did you see it?
Not in the theaters, because I would have been 11, 12. I would have been 10, 11. I would have been 11. Mm-hmm. I remember probably seeing it when I was 14. And I don't like horror flicks. I'm with TC. I don't like horror flicks. I don't mind the blood. I don't mind grotesque things. I don't like killings. John Carpenter, he's a legend. He's made so many awesome movies. I mean, starting with Assault on Precinct 13. That was probably one of his first movies. I remember seeing that, and I liked it. It was, That came out in, I think, 76 or 77. But then you got the Halloween movies. I don't like Halloween movies. I never liked them. I've probably seen the first one once. I've never seen any of the other ones. The Jason,
same guy who did Halloween.
Yeah, the Jason movies. I hated those. So I don't like horror flicks. I don't consider this movie horror.
I consider it more like psychological thriller.
Yeah. And I don't even
grotesque thriller.
Yeah,
psychological sci-fi. I don't know. Continue.
The little things that bothered me, the opening scene with the spaceship coming in, I think they could have done away with that. Like, don't even show us that. Show us the spaceship in the ice. That would have been probably a little more thrilling. But then you know what's going on. There's an alien on the planet in the first 2 seconds of the movie. Okay, so this is the thing. The thing isn't a space alien. Right away. I'm like, what is this? Yeah. The opening, and then we've got, the dogs running through the snow, and, that went on for 10 minutes. I don't know if you guys realize that was a long sequence of this dog running. And how the hell did this dog not get shot being, from the helicopter? Like, there was a lot of
that guy's the worst shooter ever.
The worst, and he's Norwegian. Maybe that's what it is, or Dutch, or whatever he is. I don't know. It just...
He was throwing grenades at him, too.
Then that's...
Strong dog.
It's right. And, and I get it. Back then, this was a great, this was a great movie back then. Watching it now, I'm going to use this word because I've used this, but it was hokey. Like, there's that word again. Like, it just...
I was hoping it was going to be horrible.
No, horrible. It's... The actors were fantastic. I love Kurt Russell. I mean...
Yeah.
The amount of movies, I guess you would call it a collaboration with, John Carpenter and Kurt Russell. I mean, right after this movie, we had, actually it was before, Escape from New York. I mean, that was a fantastic movie. That was a great movie. Matt, if you haven't seen that is an unbelievable movie. We got Snake Plissken. I mean, this guy's a legend. And then we had, what was another movie that he did with him?
So are you comparing it to other Carpenter movies, essentially?
Look, all Carpenter movies, they're pretty much they're horror flicks. I'm not going to compare this one to them, but I'm just saying that, he had a great cast. The story on this was lacking compared to all the other John Carpenter movies that he's done.
I don't think this was original. I think there was another thing in the 50s.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I'm almost positive.
I don't know about that. I didn't know they did it. I didn't know they remade it until I saw this one.
Yeah.
And I think the story went too quick. I think if I don't say drag it out, but like things just fit. It was like a block. It was like a block one after another, and it was predictable. That whole thought about it was more. It was more psychological. Yeah, the whole psychological part of that of trying to figure out who has it and who doesn't, or does this person have it? That's great and all that, but when you set the movie up to where you're basically figuring it out as it's moving along, like, okay, it loses its appeal to it. And then the animatronics, I mean, superior back in that time with the puppetry and the animatronics. I mean, that was unbelievable. And watching it now, you're like, oh, this is kind of stupid. It's lame. Back then, like that was it. That was what it was back then. Yeah. What's up?
Okay. So for reference, the book Who Goes There from 1938 was made into a movie called The Thing from Another World in 1951, which was then remade into this in 1982 by John Carpenter.
Okay.
All follows the same plot though.
I didn't realize John Carpenter also did Halloween. Again, I'm not a horror person. My favorite horror movie of all time is the first Halloween, though.
Dude, he also the other movie I was thinking was he did Big Trouble in Little China. I mean, that was a great movie. I mean, again, Kurt Russell.
A great movie.
I mean, we got
so long.
That's definitely on the list.
It's an amazing. This guy's absolutely amazing of what he's put out there. Ghost of Mars, fantastic. They Live. I mean, I like to. Kick ass and chew bubble gum. That's an iconic line of a movie. He's done some great things. This one here for me,
and I'm all out of bubble gum.
It's all my, it's. I'm gonna use that hokey word again. It was just, It was hokey. And, my score on this, it's a 4-0. I'm giving it a 4-0. I mean, that's what I'm doing.
Oh, my God.
And,
that's better than I thought you were going to do, Joe.
That's worse than I gave Rise of Skywalker.
And it's got some saving moments. I mean, the visual effects on it were unbelievable. I mean, you've got these... the one scene where, the guy at the very end, you have in the room, and they got the people tied up, and then you've got this head popping off this body that's burning. It grows legs and it walks across. I mean, that is an iconic scene in horror, films where people remember that scene. And it's unbelievable how that was done back in 1982. Like, you can't really, you could do that now with CGI, and I don't think it would look the same. It would look a little weird, but this looked real, and that's its saving grace with stuff like that.
Totally looked real.
And
that was another part where I was like, if they don't see this with like 10 people in the room, I'm gonna lose my mind.
I felt the same,
and it was fantastic. I mean, you felt it, but that was its saving grace, and I'm glad they didn't do a second part on this. The last two guys you had Childs, and what was the other guy's name? What was Kurt Russell's name in the movie?
McCready.
McCready. So you had McCready and Childs, and you were supposed to guess like which one of them had it. And to me, you saw it. You knew. I figured out like one of them is definitely it, and you could tell by the scene. If you actually pay attention to the scene, you can kind of guess which one is the thing. Now, I'm not sure if you guys picked up on that. But there were just certain things. No, so if you'll notice, you see Kurt Russell breathing, you see his breath. When Childs talks, you saw no breath. And when I saw that, I'm like, that's it was stuff like that was just, I don't know, it ruined it a little bit. It didn't leave it open for me. Maybe a 3-5. I don't know.
What a spread of scores!
Oh man, this is a good first one. Wow. I gotta tell you,
I love scores.
I love that it's all over the place. This is so much better than if we all thought it was either terrible or awesome.
Yeah,
this is a perfect type of movie.
Totally.
It might not even allow us to pick movies that we all love.
No.
So Jim, do you think it's more that do you think you didn't like it more because it's not your kind of movie, or because it was just a bad movie?
I can't even really say because. They consider this a horror flick, and I don't like horror flicks, but I don't think of that as a horror. That wasn't a horror flick to me. A horror flick to me is, a Jason movie, a Halloween movie. You've got some slasher dude, a Scream movie, which was more comical than a horror. I don't consider this a horror flick. This was either a sci-fi or, like you said, a thriller sci-fi type of movie.
Yeah. It was definitely like a blend of a lot of kind of different genres.
Yeah.
Like there's definitely some aspects of horror, definitely sci-fi, definitely thriller. I mean, it's definitely a combination of those three, I think.
Yeah, again, 1982. Now watching, I expected the way it is when that was made back then. It was such a great movie probably back then. Nowadays, I encourage people to watch it, see it for the first time. If you've never seen it, I would watch this compared to the newer one, because I can't imagine what.
Did you see the newer one?
I won't see it. No, this ruined it. I already know what happens. It's an alien, It's
yeah.
But there's other great, fantastic other John Carpenter movies. Escape from New York is probably one of my favorite John Carpenter movies. And then it's Kurt Russell. I know that there's a second part, Escape from LA, which is kind of weird. It's I would stay away from that one, but the Escape from New York, man, that left. I remember watching that as a kid. I'm going, oh my God, this is like amazing. That was probably one of my first rated R movies that I watched when I was 10 or 11. And it was such a great movie.
Dark. The year before, 1981.
81, yeah, and it's a great movie. If we get a chance to watch that one.
Oh, interesting. So Escape from New York, the writers are John Carpenter and Nick Castle, who played Michael Myers in Halloween.
Yeah.
The original Michael Myers?
Yes. That's cool.
So I don't know what's going on. My Rotten Tomatoes is freezing right now.
And also, John Carpenter, he did Christina, too.
Do you want me to pull up Rotten Tomatoes for this movie?
You guys heard of Christine, right?
I mean, that was. What were you saying, JJ?
I said John Carpenter also did the movie Christine, which is about the car. Like, Another fantastic movie. That's more horror. I mean, I've seen that once or twice.
I pulled up Rotten Tomatoes for this, if that's what you were going for.
For which movie?
Yeah, so I saw that IMDb had it at 8.1 out of 10.
Yeah.
What is Rotten Tomato?
Rotten Tomatoes has the tomatometer, which is the critic reviews, is 84%, and audience score is 92%.
Meaning what?
So
90.
Pretty much your score.
What is that?
Out of 100.
So people
That's
liked
like
it.
The audience. Yeah, like the people who watched it rated it. But you got to remember too, the people who are watching it, I think the point you were trying to make, Toy Story, is that the people who are watching it are probably horror fans too.
Yeah.
Like they're John Carpenter fans. Like I think my score for not being a horror fan is probably about the average for a non-horror fan.
I think so, yeah.
I mean, JJ.
If you're into horror movies, like Tom Polari probably loves
Oh, he probably loves that movie. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
All right, that was an awesome first review.
Spread from a 3.5 to a 9.2. That's pretty good for a first one.
A very good, the good, the bad, and the geeky movie review segment. I'm excited to do the next one. I think we already have a list of 75 movies. So
yeah,
as long as we keep doing this show for the next 80 years, we should thank you for joining us, Julie, and giving your thoughts.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah,
how you doing during quarantine? Are you cooking up a storm?
Yeah, it's not bad.
All right.
She loves to stay home and do nothing anyway, so this is heaven.
Oh.
You see, I'm the same way. I just want it to be my choice.
Yes.
Yeah.
I want to tell people no, I can't go, and give a random excuse.
She also doesn't like that we're all also home.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like to be by myself.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah.
Everyone needs their space.
We still got a Return of the Jedi to watch.
Oh.
Sometime this weekend.
Can't wait.
That's my favorite one. If you're gonna like anyone, you'll probably like that one.
You're gonna like that one.
Okay, good.
So what did you see? You just saw Star Wars and Empire Strikes Back?
Yeah, we watched those too.
All right.
Yeah. She was very at the end of Star Wars, she was like, "Wait, what happened to his aunt and uncle from the beginning?"
I lost focus so many times in the movie because it's not my type of movie.
That's great.
Wow.
The Death Star explodes. So what happened to the aunt and uncle? I don't even know how to respond to that.
It was great.
That's great. That was a great question. They're dead. Oh man, this was a lot of fun.
Yeah, thank you for coming in.
And you're welcome back anytime.
The next 80s movie that we watch, you have to watch it.
Yeah, we will educate the both of you on the gloriousness that is the 80s.
Wow.
All right. Well, we hope everyone enjoyed this episode. John's. We hope you guys all check out the book, support Zombie Sama and SAVOR, and give us your feedback on the movie review too. Check out the thing. Let us know what you think on social media, Instagram, face space, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And we will not be at any cons until there are cons again. So
we'll be at the first one that there is.
We are doing a lot of cool stuff. We have a big interview coming up next.
We got a couple.
Do we want to say who it is?
Not yet.
Yeah.
No.
All right.
We do got a couple of really cool things lined up.
Yeah, we have a lot of cool things coming on. We're gonna have an announcement next episode from Ali again at Elite Comics 11. We're gonna give you guys more info on @Con, and I think that's pretty much it for this time around.
Yeah, I think so.
But thank you guys for listening. If you don't already subscribe to Don't Feed the Geeks. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook at @LIComicGuys.com and at Don't Feed the Geeks. And remember, until next time,
Don't Feed the Geeks!